Well, what does it mean for the festive season, given the higher stages of power cuts we've been experiencing recently? Energy analyst Hilton Trollip joins us for more. Hilton, it feels like we have this conversation round about this time for the last couple of years. Is it going to be a dark or a bright Christmas?
Kathy, so anybody that tells you that they know is having you on, because what's happened is nothing has really changed. I'm looking at the Eskom data portal here. I'm looking at the unplanned outages, the planned outages, the available plant, and basically for the past 18 months, things have more or less, sometimes we have a bad couple of weeks, sometimes we have a good couple of weeks, but things kind of carry on in the same pattern. So, and every couple of months, or even we used to speak more often, but now people got used to this, except there was a good little patch recently for a few weeks, but there have been good patches before. And this is characteristic of a large system with many components, all of which are unreliable. So sometimes quite a few break down at the same time, sometimes a few don't break down. But on average, we're looking at a constant unplanned maintenance amount of 33%. Between 30 and 33%. I'm looking at this graph here since 2022 April. Changes a bit. So what's going to happen for December is your question? Probably will carry on as we've been carrying on for the past 18 months, 2 years or so. We might have some luck over Christmas. We might not. And yeah, we're used to it now. We know what's going to happen. What's going to happen is what's happened for the past 2 years, 2.5 years. That's what will happen.
And we can sort of keep counting, can't we, Hilton? And that's really, I think, a part of the problem. The fact that no one really seems to know what to anticipate, what to expect, what to plan for.
Well, Kathy, we know what to plan for. We know to plan for between stage 2 to stage 6 load shedding, with every now and then no load shedding. That's what to plan for. Sorry to contradict you. But what I can tell you is nothing has been done by this government, apart from allowing the private sector to now plan and start building a large number of wind power and PV plants, which will allow many companies at least to relieve the worst of load shedding from them, and also to provide themselves with cheaper electricity, because the prices also keeps on going up. But what hasn't happened is the government, through the IPP office, that's the only place it can buy new power, it hasn't bought much new power. The IPP office is failing in its legislative mandate, what it's meant to do, and our power stations are just getting a bit older every year. You know, they get a year. The one thing that happens every year is our power stations get a year older, and most of them are really old, and they've been hammered, and they're on their way out. And the few new ones were made, started building in 2006, and corrupt contracts, bad design, etc. So they're also in a bad state. And there's no news, really. It's the same, except slowly we go worse.
Hilton, one of the biggest difficulties that I believe many South Africans have is the fact that the weather is always a significant contributing factor to why we don't have electricity. And, you know, traditionally it was winter where we knew load shedding would increase, but now seemingly summer is also a problem. So what do we need? Autumn all year round.
It is true that we had a particularly hot weather recently, and also as what would I call them, the upper to mid-income earners across the whole world get richer, including South Africans, as inequality grows here, people get more used to the fact that an air conditioner is kind of an affordable thing. So more people get air conditioners. You know, 30 years ago, very few people had air conditioners in their cars, and very few people air conditioners at home, and it becomes more and more normal. So the number of air conditioners, along with the number of people, goes up, and so the demand for air conditioners when it's hot goes up too. But that is a red herring. The Minister for Electricity, or of Electricity, or by electricity, or I don't know what electricity, but Minister Ramaphosa, it's a red herring. I've listened to his briefings, and what he does is he loads up the atmosphere with all of these facts, this and that, and that, and that, and that, and that, and that. Let me tell you, air conditioners might have contributed maybe half a stage of load shedding. Not one, half a stage. Nobody actually knows, because nobody can measure that easily. So if he says he knows, he can't. There's no way he can know. Nobody can know who switched on their air conditioners and who hasn't. Certainly not last week or the week before. That information is not available. So he's just sucking it out of the air, and he's changing the subject, and his PhD, he's Dr. Ramaphosa. I've read his PhD. It's essentially a public relations department that gave him his PhD. He's a minister of propaganda.
Hilton, I'm going to wrap it up with this. It's not all bad news. There is some good news tonight. Eskom announcing that Unit 2 of Kusile has been reconnected to the grid 2 days earlier than anticipated. That is certainly going to have a significant impact.
Yes, well, each of those units is about 800 megawatts, plus minus, although because they're still new, it's like a car, they're still being run in. So you don't expect us to switch them on and they work perfectly. You often have to run at a lower load factor, and sometimes they have to go off, etc. But good news, absolutely. I mean, we have paid more for the units at Kusile Power Station with those repairs and everything than possibly anybody has ever paid for a coal-fired power station before in the world. So good news that it's working, nice, and I hope it continues working. But it's really, it's 1 out of 80. It's not going to make a little bit of a difference. So yep, good news. Well done, Eskom, getting Kusile Unit 2 going.
Oh, Hilton, always full of 101 reasons for us to smile, aren't you?
Yeah, well, if you don't laugh, you'll cry in this situation.
Hilton Trollip is an energy analyst, and as you can hear, more bad news than good news there.